Can everybody hear me? All right. There's a lot of people here that want to speak, probably most of it on the ordinances being introduced tonight. How ordinances are adopted is they're introduced at first reading, and then normally at the next committee meeting, they are adopted after a public hearing. There's not going to be a public hearing tonight. Comments will be accepted tonight, and it's not a back and forth that's going to happen. You can ask questions, make your comments, raise any concerns you want. The committee will take notes, we will take detailed minutes, and this proceeding is going to be recorded. The township planner is here tonight, but he's not going to be participating other than to listen to what all the comments or concerns are. At the public hearing, which is scheduled for March 7th, that will open up with the township planner making a statement that addresses the comments and concerns that are raised tonight. For those of you that were here, not the last meeting, but the meeting before that, it was a lot of back and forth. That's not how the rules of the committee are supposed to be. So, and in order to allow everybody to speak, we're going to follow the rules tonight, which includes a 3-minute limit on public comments. And also it's going to be that make your comments at your time allotted, and then if any of the committee members do want to respond, they can respond at the conclusion of the meeting where there's the comments of the committee members. When you do want to speak, come up to the podium. We have a wired speaker, so there's no, or microphone, so there's no problems with the battery microphones of this meeting. You state your name and the address for the record, and make sure you speak into the microphone so it's picked up by the recording system, and we can keep those detailed minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will now open the meeting public comment on agenda items only. Please remember to state your name and address for the record. Reminder, this is for comment only. It is not intended as a question and answer period. If you would like a response, please leave your name and contact information on the podium and you can respond to it.
Good evening, my name is Luis Lopez. I'm a Mile resident of New Jersey in the county of Westampton. First comment is, why are you support of the solar program? Can you explain that to the world? The second is mixed review on the hospital sites. To do more studies, should be like a farmland, provide more crop, more essence food. I mean, for the county of Westampton. I say that, and I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to see I know 2 of my friends, Ordinance, and that girl right there, I see her before outside Westampton. And that this famous guy too, he's famous on Westampton. And I do have one question in the next public department, if I could ask. And I'm just going to ask one question. Is the resident of Mr. Bananas, he's a ward resident of Westampton, want to know he's still alive, where he's at, or he's still here? I know that's like one of the reasons I came here to see is where he's at or how he's been. I know you know him. I don't know about the new program, but I like to see the ward veteran again. He was kind while I was here a couple of years ago. I taped a Westampton tape. The first one is Mayor Sidney. That's the first mayor I ever met several years ago. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Christina Getz at 109 West Maple Tree Drive. I just want to comment on one of the first things on the agenda, which is the ordinances that you guys are doing the first reading on tonight. I know you can't answer any questions, but I just want to tell you my feelings on it. I do think that you guys should table this and amend this, especially regarding section 3. If you look back into the 2010 vision plan of Westampton, it talks about the T, which is that same opening where you guys want to allow warehouses with the conditional use over the MCD overlay. That was part of the vision plan that they wanted to make that the heart of town. So yes, we're allowing warehouses in other zones, but it was not proposed by the landlord that they should be allowed in the MCD zone. So on page 28, item 4 of the landlord recommendations from the new technical appendix to the master plan, it said, except for the agri-hood district, warehouses should be removed from the list of permitted principal uses in all other districts except the township zoning code. So that means it doesn't mean add into the MCD. They suggested it removing it except for the agri-hood. So this ordinance goes against what we paid the land planner, Chris, and the board to come up with. It's not matching up. I don't understand why you guys don't wanna adopt what they recommended when we paid them lots of time and they did their investments on coming up with an appendix to help the warehouses, so they wouldn't be backed up against residential areas. If you look at the zoning map, I mean, where Irick and Woodland was, there's the R1 district, and that had, plenty of houses next to it, but if you now look at the MCD zone, there's even more houses, almost triple the amount of houses right near there versus what we had at Irick and Woodland. I mean, I still don't think warehouses belong in either of those areas. And another comment I had is if you try and look at the zoning map, it's still from 2013. It took me a while to find out where the MCD zone was, because it's a medical overlay that was put in an ordinance in 2015, but it's not even on our current zoning map on the township website. Another thing that I think should be adapted with the ordinances is they recommended having warehouse height at 40 feet, not 45 feet, with a 10 feet parapet at the top. So allowing warehouses in an area that currently isn't allowed and they didn't recommend, as well as allowing them to even be higher, makes me question why are we writing that part in the ordinance when nothing else from the landlord and the appendix that they just worked on so hard was proposed in that way.
That's your 3 minutes. You just finished up.
Okay. So I ask that you amend it and consider taking out section 3 and also putting the height as recommended by the land development board down to 40 feet. Thank you.
Good evening. As the township committee probably knows, and for the public that may not know, my name is David Ferrero. I'm one of the members of the subcommittee. Prepared the annex for the master plan along with Bob Thorpe, our planner, Chris Dockney, and Committeeman Carr. Tonight we have an ordinance that culminates many of the recommendations within our report, although with a couple of key exceptions to note. First, in addition, which would amend supplicant, as was previously stated, medical campus overlay zone by their allowing warehouses. These include distribution centers, fulfillment centers, and parcel hubs. And for those that don't know, the medical overlay includes 110 acres, which was historically been known as the Hogan Farm between Route 541 and Woodland Road. It was a property once slated for a hospital by Birchwell. Second, a change to recommended warehouse heights from the subcommittee's recommendation of 40 feet to that of 45 feet, with parapets allowed up to 50 feet in height. Third, a change to the subcommittee's recommendation of 1,000 feet separation between principal warehouse structures and those of schools and residential homes to allow for reduction of 500 feet when and if a 10-foot sound barrier is used between these structures. Last year, when the subcommittee met, we looked at this property for its potential in regards to warehouse use. It was determined unanimously by the members that this area was a sensitive area due to its close proximity to the special services school, its close proximity to the homes of Torranceville and Holly Hills, and in addition, its close proximity to the low and moderate income housing that has been slated for part of the agri-hood zoning across from 541, and the other low to moderate income housing slated for the remainder of the Hogan Farm, also across Route 541. We felt that its current zone was more appropriate to the area than any changes that would allow for warehousing. In addition, taking into account the resident voices from 2010, we also felt that any changes allowed for warehousing would not be in line with our vision plan, again, for the year 2010. And as I review these changes with the proposed ordinance, its effect to the second property, I believe it became apparent to me that grouped together, they appear to be custom built to allow not only for a warehouse to be built on this property, but one that would be sizable and potentially one of the largest within our township. As I stated earlier, the subcommittee has already reviewed this area, and it was felt unanimously that this site is too sensitive an area, and that rezoning for warehousing would not be the best use for it, nor would it be in line with the overall master plan. It is with this master committee to approve the ordinance in line with the subcommittee's recommendations, but excluding the reduction of spacing between warehouses and those of schools or residences, the elimination of warehousing as an additional use being the medical overlay, and again, the restatement of 40 feet being the maximum permissible height of warehouses. Thank you.
John Anderson, 720 Woodland Road. I think the appendix is in violation of Westampton Township Right to Farm Act. It's a busy farm that is there. As an unqualified farmer, I should investigate before anything else proceeds. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yvonne Enriquez. I'm at 16 Devonshire Drive. I'm here as a concerned resident. I haven't done this before, so I'm going to just state my concerns, my issues, having spoken to a lot of residents, whom, by the way, have no idea what's going on. That's my first issue, because what other way do we have other than Zoom calls or looking on a website for people that aren't accustomed to that, to get this message out? The major concern, I've been a resident here for like 39 years. I don't want warehouses surrounding a residential area. We're not an industrial park, we are a community, and we would like to keep it that way. So whomever, however, we have to achieve that, that's what we would like to do. How do we get to do that? How do residents get involved, other than coming to a meeting? Can we do a petition, sign petitions? What other way are we able to participate and go against every single month, it seems, a fight to put another warehouse in our area? What do we need to do? That's my concern. I speak amongst a lot of residents that weren't able to come, but I would like those questions answered. Thank you.
Chris Hamilton, 16 St. Andrews Court. I've been a resident of this town for over 2 decades, and I've seen some pretty amazing things come out of this chamber. But I have to say, this ordinance is the most tone-deaf, idiotic thing I've ever seen. You people are spitting in the face of the people that spent their own money to fight that warehouse. Their own money that they have to spend because this township committee didn't do their job years ago and zoned against it. And then you establish a new zone a half a mile away that is going to allow warehouses in the exact center of this town that will irrevocably ruin this town. Completely ruin this town. You're going to put warehouses in the center of this town, surrounded by all of our houses. Anyone that votes for this ordinance tonight or in a month is saying they don't give a damn about this town.
Thank you.
Okay, hello. My name is Siobhan Ballard. I'm at 41 Brighton Road. I've been here just about 30 years, living in this community that I love dearly, that I raised my daughter here, and it was a community where people could congregate and talk to each other and feel also that there was a healthy environment. Now, I came out here not no COVID, because of my massive health issue, because this was important to me enough, because I feel like it's not important enough for some of you that's here voting for the wrong things, because you don't care enough about this community to keep warehouses out of it. All I see is a warehouse down the road, a warehouse when I go down 541 to the left. I feel overwhelmed every day. And I feel like there's a lot of hidden things going on for somebody's agenda. Whoever you are, you can't be concerned about the children here, the families here, and I feel sorry that you feel that way.
Ron Kursky for Oak Tree Court, Westampton, been a resident here for over 30 years. Addressing item 10 on the agenda. On the review of the, warehouse distribution centers report. It specifically recommends that block 804, lot 12, block 403, lot 19, and block 404, lots 1, 18, 1801, 1802 are the only properties in the industrial district zone east of the New Jersey Turnpike and should be considered rezoned by the industrial district to an R5 residential and R1 residential district respectively. By extending the existing residential districts west and making the New Jersey Turnpike the boundary between the residential areas of the township and industrial district. This has been completely ignored by the agenda item number 10. As mentioned before, one of the recommendations was accepting the agro district warehouses should be removed from the list of permitted principal uses in all other districts of the township zoning code. And specifically, addressing warehouses should also be specifically prohibited in zone OR1 and added to section 3 amendment with medical campus overlay zone MCD, which already specifically prohibits warehouses and is included in the OR1 zone. Item N that we're looking at in the ordinance here implies that a warehouse could be sited at that location conditionally and a use that is presently not zoned for or permitted. We've had the warehouse and district report that I'm sure everyone's seen. You've seen the vision plan. And there's also a Burlington County Route 541 transportation and circulation plan. And that specifically looks at traffic problems in the 541 corridor, where this potential MCD zone or the OR1 zone could possibly have warehouses. At 541 in Wood Lane, they specifically note that there's an existing D rating and it goes to an F rating for a no-build situation. At 541 and Burns Road intersection, it goes from an A rating down to a no-build C rating. And at 541 and the New Jersey Turnpike, which includes Iron Road and Hancock Lane, goes from an AM rating of B to a no-build of a C, and a PM rating of D to an F rating, which would, if we looked at that, basically we're saying that we shouldn't be building any sort of warehouses with, that's going to create massive amounts of traffic in those areas. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Charles Lawrence. Thank you for everybody that spoke. They touched on a lot of things. I'm sorry? My address is 8 Municipal Drive in Lumberton, but I do a lot of work in this area, Burlington County, all throughout the tri-state. I own a remodeling company. I also do a lot of community service work, and I also work with a lot of farms as my spare time. I don't ask for any money back, I just try and help the community. And I just want to throw some statistical facts out, besides what everybody else touched on, because there's no point of saying the same thing over. But in 2020, there was a study done that there was 10,000 farms in the state of New Jersey. 2022, there's 10,000 farms, but yet I see warehouses popping up all the time. I see residential, more residential complexes popping up. So where are these statistics? Like, who's taking these statistics? The math doesn't add up. You know, they say that property's worth $20 million. Cranberries alone on one farm that has 3,000 acres is $20.4 million in 1 year. That's just cranberries alone. And we're, state of New Jersey, we're eggplant, peppers, spinach, tomatoes, cranberries, asparagus, peaches, blueberry, squash, cucumbers, and sweet corn. We are the #1 state that supplies that for America. For America. So we start taking all these farms away, who's supplying who? Well, we gonna start buying from China? Like, I'm sorry, like, I get very emotional over this because my first job was farming. I grew up farming. You know, where are all these people coming from? And don't get me wrong, I love people. That's what I live for, is to help others. Without anything, I don't want anything back. You know, if we don't do something about this now, like, how we gonna even feed all these people? We keep popping up with more residential housing. How we gonna feed everybody? You know, that's my concern. You know, if I gotta, after my hours of work, blood, sweat, and tears every single day, do I have to go to each farm and help them out myself, free of charge, just to be able to save these farms? Like, what do I gotta do? You lend me $20 million, I'm putting myself $25 million in debt just to be able to save farms. I mean, if you guys look across, I don't know if anybody keeps up with the news or anything, and I mean, but there's farm fields being burnt to the ground, and they don't know who's causing them. Like, what do we have to do? How do we go feed everybody? Because I don't know about you guys, I'm not a big McDonald's fan, just saying. But, thank you for listening.
Good evening, my name is Don Shirisi. I live at 210 Bridge Street. I've been a resident here, hate to say, 46 years. And I don't hate to say it, I was always proud to say it. But to say the least, I don't know if you guys are listening to the people here, but I wasn't going to speak, but I hear them, and I hear them speaking from their heart. What's happening to this township? Do you guys, I looked at the webpage to see what the agenda was tonight, and there's loaded with beautiful pictures of various houses and sites. There wasn't one picture of a warehouse. But this is what it's becoming. You go down Springside Road, and then there's one right across the track from here that they've got a site ready to build, probably don't have an owner yet. And you're considering allowing 127 trailers to drive off of Beverly Grand Crocus Road. And it said it's not near a residential district, it's a historic district by the federal government. You can look at that road and see Grand Crocus Village. You got a farm, the poor gentleman just died, he was a longer resident than I was. And you're not gonna see anything like that. Maybe in the state of New Jersey, those outbuildings. You know, I speak to some of you people and you say, well, if it's zoned this, we have to do this. You don't have to do anything. I don't know if you're listening. You don't have to do anything. You gotta do what's right. Now, you and your predecessors have kept taxes down, of which we're appreciative. But there's a limit. I'd rather pay a little bit more taxes than have these damn warehouses just built continuously. It's embarrassing when you go down there. I mean, originally they made it look, you know, tried to make it look historic. I think the Catholic organization up here built a historic looking home, but now these warehouses are just cement walls. And then even the low income housing, nothing against that. Hey, I grew up in Camden, everybody should have a home. But you can't build them on top of each other. I mean, there's one after another, they all look the same. I mean, it's crazy. You guys gotta look in the mirror and say, yes, I can say no. You go on down 295, who's the only town that has the electronic billboards up there? Yeah. Westampton. How did that happen? Don't you care about the community? These people here spend hard-earned money, buying these homes. And, for the almighty tax dollars, you save a couple bucks here and there, it's gonna look atrocious, it already looks atrocious. And you gotta stop it. You gotta stop it right now. People will say, well, benefits people get jobs. I mean, how many people from Westampton are getting jobs there? Well, probably not many.
Sir, that's your 3 minutes. Can you wrap up, please?
Okay. I could go on for hours, probably would if the gentleman had stopped. But I will sit down, but look in the mirror, look on the website, and what do you see? You see homes, you don't see warehouses.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is April Middleton, 29 Lawrence Lane, and I back everything that everybody said and clapped for, and I feel very emotional over this meeting. One thing that I worry about also is we keep building on all this land and putting these ridiculous looking low-income housing groups of, I don't even know what you call them, townhouses that start at $400,000. I wouldn't even qualify as a low-income housing person for those. But we are not building schools. We have our middle school is on a little plot of land. What are we gonna put it on stilts and shove stuff under it to put the kids? We can only even put so many trailers if we have to resort to that. We're reserving no land for schools in our township. Holly Hill schools, yeah, maybe we can throw an addition on there, but then we're taking away from playground space. Nobody's thinking about the little children in this town, and Rancocas Valley is outgrown. There's too many kids in that school now. I have young nieces and nephews in this township. My kids already made it through school districts, but please consider what you're doing to this township and leave land for the schools and our young children to grow up in this nice, or at least what was once a nice township. It's going down the tubes, people. Care enough about the residents. Maybe you're all retired and moving away, or whoever it is behind this horrible thing you're doing to this township. But please, please reconsider, rewrite whatever the heck you unwrote, and save this township of Westampton. It's not that large. Thank you.
Terrence Brown, 9 Pine Tree Drive. I have a couple comments and then I'll ask my questions. The first comment, I guess, is just looking at how the ordinance is written. It refers to the master plan in 2020. So I'm trying to determine, is there the re-examination of 2020 is what they're referring to? Is it the re-examination of the master plan of 2020? Westampton is 11 square miles according to the technical opinions, 9,000 residents according to the census. In that report, it states on page 10 that this virtual property will be in the center of the township, making this virtual property now, if zoned to be eligible for warehouses, it will make Westampton have over 5.3 million square feet of warehouses, which it currently has. So that particular land will take that 5.3 million to another million square feet compared to the residents in this town. But I read on down in the technical opinions that talked about the community vision plan that was recorded back in 2011. Maybe it should be a time to kind of revisit it tonight with all of the people here, where they expressed that their desire was to maintain a rural character and environment throughout this township. This is what's noted in the technical opinions. So I think that this should definitely be reevaluated, looked at, and take back to what the planner had recommended. But I think it's also important to know who proposed this modification against what was already created. Who asked the planner, or whoever wrote this ordinance up today, who proposed these changes, these modifications? We understand that Mr. Carr is the liaison between the land development board, the planner, and they're all working. Where did this proposed changing of the setbacks come from? That's the question I want to know, and I think many of the public wants to know. Because Mr. Carr and Ms. Wright ran their campaign off of, shoulders, preserving green space. And today, what we see with a vote of any kind will show us what they're really preserving. Thank you so much.
Chris D'Alessandro, 119 2nd Street in the Village. So I have a few concerns that I want to bring to the attention of the committee. One is garbage in town is everywhere. Litter is everywhere by the side of the road. Everywhere I look, it has gotten to the point that in Rancocas Village, we went from informal efforts to pick up garbage to forming a litter brigade to go out every couple weeks around our village and pick up trash. We have McDonald's on one end, Wawa on the other end, another Wawa on the other end. These are corporations that owe us a duty not to have garbage strewn throughout our community. Now I pick up this garbage and I can bring in a bag to a meeting if anyone would like to show you that it's all Wawa and McDonald's. So what will you do as a committee to address it? I've suggested you should do something. You have the power to address this. I would ask you to. In terms of the warehouses, a terrible idea all around. I've made that clear in land development board meetings that I've attended. I've probably spoken a little more passionately about it because that was a different situation. But in this, we have the power to stop this as well. And I understand everybody has different ideas. We don't live in different towns. You, I, everybody here, we all live in the same place. So it's not like we don't all have a stake in this. But I would ask you to reconsider this. The truck traffic, the pollution, all the ancillary businesses that come with this, the repair yards, the truck lots, the truck stops, the wreckers, all the things that support warehouses are coming into this as well. It's not just one warehouse or two warehouses. It's a system, it's a logistics hub that is all around this area. I took a ride around Burlington County and a little bit beyond. Warehouses everywhere, and the majority of them appeared to be empty. So what is the point in building empty warehouses on land that could probably be used for something different? Clearly, people own land, they want to develop it. Great, I understand that. But with warehouses, no, I can't understand that. Bad for the community, and I would just respectfully request that you reconsider this. Thank you.
Gary Berger, 138 Winstead. I've got 3 comments on the agenda. I guess I'll start with agenda item 9, the ordinance. I guess what I was curious was to see if there was an accompanying fiscal impact statement with the ordinance. I was looking for one, I didn't see one. That might be helpful to kind of grasp the impact of the ordinance, especially in consideration. And primarily, I think those of us that attended the budget workshop, we heard kind of what Greg was talking about. Our fire department is going to be under enormous pressure. Nature records a vacuum. As soon as this ordinance is passed, I bet you they're going to build those warehouses faster than we can deploy an ambulance or a new fire truck or brand new trained fire personnel. And honestly, for recruiting and retaining trained fire professionals, what's the cost to them to having to put out a warehouse fire? Maybe they don't want to come here because it's just so many warehouses that it's going to prove too great of a safety risk for them. So just something for you to think about on that. I want to move on to agenda 11D and E. I guess I can talk about D first. 38-23, the resolution appointing the rec committee member. I think it's great that people want to serve the community. I'm all in favor of that. It'd just be helpful to know a little bit about the appointee, Ashley Boone. I don't know if that person's here tonight. If so, maybe you can invite them up to have them introduce themselves to us. Primarily, I was really interested to know if they had a vision statement that they shared with you as they were soliciting their appointment on the committee. That would be helpful for us to know as well. And then this goes for really anyone that served on any committee. But as we were just talking about the budget, If you have a comment on this, I'm just curious, in terms of the budget process, what, if any, role do any of these committee folks play, or what would you expect them to play as we're working through the budget workshop on that? That'd be helpful. And then on E, 39-23, the contract for the mold remediation repairs to the police. So I was reading through the agreement that Ecotech put together for the township. There was a couple of statements in there, just to see if you had a comment on this. One of the points in there, it's in the terms and agreements section page, I'm not sure which page, I don't have it in front of me. But Ecotech says, quote, that they shall keep all information pertaining to this emergency confidential unless otherwise required by law. It'd be helpful to know what emergency they're talking about. Is it the mold in the police department that constitutes the emergency, or there's some other emergency that is underway at the moment that they are going to keep confidential? So that'd be helpful to know. And then below the signature blocks, under the signature blocks, there's some numbered clauses. Number 3 is the insurance clause, and it lists that they're going to provide $1 million in insurance. I don't know, $1 million seems like a lot of money. I'm just wondering, are you guys comfortable with that number of $1 million? I think $1 million maybe not enough, but that's my comment.
Hello, my name is Arda Baldassare. I'm a resident of 429 West Country Club Drive, and I'm here to speak against the building of warehouses in this area. So my first concern is this was not in the original Westampton Township master plan and was added unilaterally by some township committee member. It would set a precedent of rezoning farmland to industrial zone, which could lead to the nightmare of every farm being turned into a warehouse. By building these warehouses, this will set a tone for the character and appeal of Westampton, therefore making it unappealing and negatively impacting all homeowners' property value. This is a really big concern. You're endangering the citizens of Westampton and any new visitors that may arrive due to the traffic blockage from these warehouses. You're asking for car accidents, and this could lead to a class action lawsuit against the community for endangering the well-being of its citizens. And you're also asking for the delay of emergencies due to officers, firefighters, and ambulances being unable to reach the victim on time. Also, another question is, what is going to be stored in these warehouses? What is the intention here? Because from what we've seen going on in Ohio, how do we not know this will be burned down? How do we not know this will cause a lot of problems? Is it hazardous materials? Is it prisoners? Is it human trafficking? Is it drugs? Or is it something else completely dangerous? What is your justification for pushing these buildings that don't have a purpose except to only make everyone's lives miserable? So in simple terms, if you want to avoid a lawsuit, don't build these warehouses. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Susan Baldassare, and I reside at 429 West Country Club Drive. I'm responding to, I had a question in regards to the warehouses. Do warehouses serve Westampton's greater good? According to the ordinance that was put in, it says, A, purpose to promote economic development in the township. But do they? Yearly revenue tax, do they generate a yearly revenue of taxes that warrants their existence? I did some calculations. This is from the 2021 municipal data sheet, and I went to the public records and found out that, okay, they want to build it on a farmland. The place where I live was also built on a farmland. Deerwood Country Club was built on a farm. Deerwood Country Club now is 488 units. It generates $4,310,000 worth of taxes a year. the total, according to the municipal data sheet, of taxes generated in, Westampton is $7,548,000. So if you divide the 4,300,000 by the 7.5 million, you find out that Deerwood generates 57% of the taxes in the town of Westampton. Now you go to the pilot warehouses. There's 22 warehouses that I know of. Plus there's other pilot income generating, tax generating properties. Their total for all 22 properties is $355,000.
Oh.
They do 5%. They generate 5% of our taxes. Now, why should we raise our taxes to support them? Thank you.
Kirsten Bjork, 120 West Maple Tree Drive. Maybe I'll buck the trend tonight and have a positive comment. The one thing that I wanted to acknowledge is that I do appreciate you keeping in the addendum the recommendation from the landlord to change the zoning in, and I apologize, I can't see, blocks 804 and 404, switching them from industrial to residential zonings. There are 5 and R1 respectively. I think that this is definitely something that residents are in favor of. If the option is industrial versus residential, I think most of us would still prefer not to develop the land. That probably isn't a reality. But glad that you acknowledge the fight that residents did for over 2 years and respecting the decision of the landlord when they voted down those warehouses, as well as made recommendations to change the zoning of this property.
How y'all doing? Justin Wright, 15 Brighton Road, proud resident of Westampton since 1984. I've loved growing up here, went to the schools here. My family and I have loved growing up here. It's a beautiful town. I mean, look around, it's great to see tonight people of all different backgrounds. This town, for the most part, what's great about living here, people just want to just live their life, you know, in a nice town. Go to work, come home. I mean, we know it's a pretty quiet town. Nobody really wants to be bothered politically, so I think for this room to be full tonight, I think, you know, you've really struck a nerve with what you're doing. Even for me to come out, I'd rather be home with my family relaxing. And I figured this is too important for me to just sit home and watch TV. I think it's important for us to come out and be educated what's going on. So thank you to all you here tonight. Sharing this information has been very helpful for me as well. But this is a real simple reminder, a couple things. One, when you look around Westampton, do you like what you see? You know, when I drive down Wood Lane Road and I see those empty lots next to Wawa, it looks horrific. It's an eyesore. It's embarrassing to look at when people drive into our town. I really can't imagine having a warehouse. Literally will be right across the street from me next to the firehouse. And just one more reminder that everyone up here was voted in by us. All these people were voted by you and I. So just remember, next time when you're at the polls, don't ever vote for someone because they have the correct letter after the name. Vote for the person who gives a rip about our town.
Good evening, Jonathan Davidson, 32 Tallowood Drive. I'm a new father. I have a 1-year-old. I have 2 on the way. Just recently moved with it during the pandemic. And I moved here, me and my wife, primarily because of the lack of warehouses, the lack of these things. I actually involved in a lot of construction of these things. I work at industrial heating ventilation, kitchen ventilation, and I've built these up and down the state. I've done the heater units on them. Of the ones I've built or been involved in building over the past 5 years, I can tell you pretty handily about 70% of them are still empty. During construction, general contractors never meet their timelines, so we're then rushing things up and down streets all hours of the day, regardless of traffic patterns or restrictions that any town puts into place. So you have tractor trailers going, well, I gotta get there at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or whatever to meet the crane that's gonna put this up on the roof. So I keep, at land board, I kept hearing, oh, well, you know, we could put restrictions and people trying to say that's ridiculous to me. I've been involved in this, money talks and BS walks. And this is all about money. And this ordinance seems to be tailored to fit a certain thing so somebody can make money off of this. That's what it seems to me. I have a bit of a political science degree that I didn't complete, and 4 years in Marine Corps service, and I kind of can tell when there's a little bit of political BS going on, and that's kind of what it smells like. And that's just my comment. I hope that you listen to the residents, and as someone who's moved here because of the way the town was when I moved here, and because I wanted to raise my family here, I hope you hear the emotion in my voice that this is a bad idea having warehouses here. Everywhere else, from Columbus to Florence to New Brunswick, I can name town after town after town that I've been involved with. Property values plummet like a rock when they do this, and they sit empty. So please consider that before you pass any laws. Thank you very much.
Brian Bird, 304 Ira Road. Pretty much all of the residents here have already brought up most of the most important parts of the ordinance. One of the things that I saw reviewing back on my commute home today was they also talk about the total height. Everyone's mentioned this height, how it's increasing over what we already consider to be a problem with our current ordinance, which seems amazing to me that we would even do this. But I also noticed the detail in there that it allows the height to be measured off of the average grade height of the perimeter around the building. So does that mean that we could have the truck entrance side of a warehouse deeper embedded into the ground, and then landscape 3/4 of the rest of the warehouse, the other 3 sides, at a higher grade, so that we could even build even taller warehouses? I mean, that's what this says to me in this ordinance. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I misread it, but that just seems crazy that what we've taken as recommendations, and now we're just taking them and blowing them up out of the water. I don't understand how we even got here and who proposed these things. I've stood here with a lot of other residents for months and years in these committee meetings, and I see, well, I know them by name because there's so few of us here typically. And tonight, everyone's here. And the committee has told us so many times how they wish more people would show up. And I think you got what you wanted. Did you get what you wanted? So the only way that you did that was by making every single person angry in this room. Is that how you wanted to get people at the committee? All of us. I'm a young father. I brought my 2 kids here from a rural community where I grew up. I also grew up in Westampton Township. I moved to upstate New York because I liked rural communities. I moved back here to be close to my family in Westampton Township. And I feel like you have ruined my life savings and all of my investments in my family, my real estate, and my home. That's how I feel, and that's how all these people feel. Remember election day, what you guys did.
Thank you.
Please more. Please, let them understand this is the first time this has ever happened in this committee meeting that I've been here in 2 years. Please let them understand that they haven't been.
Mr. Byrd, you had your chance for a comment. Can we please make comments from the podium?
Got it.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. My name is Bill Rudolph. I'm at 10 Manor Drive here in Westampton. I'm going to ask everybody in the room to imagine that they have an easel, paper and a painting, brush, and paint. And I want everyone to paint in that picture their view of what they would think the town that they would like to live in looks like. And when you get finished with that painting, you give it to the township committee. And then look at your dreams, your hopes, and the things that you want for your family, your children, and your neighbors. As a committee, since we voted for you, and all officials, it is your responsibility to help us with our dreams and our hopes and what we want to look at. And I'm sure that there's not too many people here that would paint in that painting 5 million, if that's correct, square feet of warehouse. I'd rather have a Panera Bread. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Bunchu, 105 West Maple Drive. I've only been here for 7 years, so I'm not too heavily invested in this town, but I will tell you, one of the things that attracted me to the town was, there was fairly wide open space. There weren't a lot of warehouses. There wasn't a traffic light. Many of these folks are a lot more heavily invested than I am. I listen. Thank you.
Motion to close?
So moved. Second.
Motion to speak, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to table the ordinance to give an opportunity for the planner to take a look at it and to listen with everyone else. Every comment that everyone made to take into account to digest all those things, I think is fair. Do we have a motion to do that? Motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Berkeley? Yes. Carr?
Yes.
Longo? Yes. Mayor Henry?
Yes. Everybody don't leave, we still have the rest of the meeting. Monthly reports, we have construction department, police department, and public works. Ordinances, this is what we table. Resolution 35-23, payment of vouchers. This resolution approves the payment of bills through 2/21/2023.
Move. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Berkeley?
Yes.
Carr? Yes. Longo? Yes. Mayor Henry?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Consent agenda resolution, consent agenda note. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with a single motion. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by the certification of availability of funds. Any items requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. We have a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Berkeley?
Yes.
Carr?
Yes.
Longo? Yes. Mayor Henry?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
We will now open the meeting for public comment. Please remember to state your name and address for the record.
Luis Lopez, 9811 Drive, Mount Holly, resident of County Wellington. I have 3 questions. What is the S2 application affordable home on 541 bypass behind Burger King? I want to know what's the status of that affordable home behind the Burger King on 541. Second good is, can anybody tell me, or anybody could give me an answer of a Westampton resident who lives here? One is still alive, how you doing, and one who could, reach to me. His name is Mr. Milano. He's a war veteran. He used to work here back in the old days. And the last thing is I doing a Facebook Live and broadcast at 4K on this meeting. If anybody who's a friend of mine, they can see an instant as soon as I hit end. They can watch the whole thing on my YouTube video to let everyone know what's going on in Westampton County. I go, each township to know what the county's working, how it goes, and against the warehouse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anthony Getz, 109 West Maple Tree Drive. So I'm not going to go into the ordinance and the warehouse that much. I would like to point out there are a lot of mistakes that happen by this township committee and the staff. A review of meeting minutes for township committee meetings show that they published a vote count instead of the members' actual count. Actual votes were most of last year. And for the most part, it doesn't really matter because most of the votes are unanimous. So we can look at who's there and what the counts are. There are some occasions where there's disagreement and then where people abstain or stuff like that. And that record's not captured. This is a clear violation of sunshine law. This behavior was corrected around September of last year after Committeewoman Berkeley requested that votes be accurately captured in the minutes. We can brush all that aside, but we have bigger errors committed this year by the Township Committee and our clerk, Ms. Gibson. A review of our most recent meeting minutes show a huge miss in procedure during the January 3rd reorganization meeting. This meeting was run by Ms. Gibson until mayor and deputy mayor are sworn in. Unfortunately, our mayor and deputy mayor were not properly voted into office that night. Ms. Gibson never requested a roll call, and proper vote never happened, which is required by law. This error is captured in meeting minutes and the video of the meeting. This major miss in procedure leaves us without a mayor and deputy mayor currently. It also means that all actions taken by this township committee are probably invalid as along with this meeting. So that's what I just said. We can probably find a lot more errors. We do have a lawyer here that can do the right things to make sure you get corrected.
If I can just comment on, I was not present at the January 3rd meeting, so I don't know specifically what happened. I will review the video and the minutes. It's accurate. And I'll review those after this meeting. However, generally speaking, procedural deficiencies render an action taken by a body as voidable and not void ab initio. So it's only if it substantially affects the actions of the body. Everyone on the committee acts as a committee of the whole and has been duly elected and sworn into those positions. I would be of the opinion that a procedural deficiency, whether it was a roll call vote or a voice vote, would not render any actions taken by the committee as sufficient going forward.
There was no vote.
It's the same conclusion, though. All members of the committee have been duly elected, and the body acts as a committee. So any action taken by the committee about the role of the mayor is primarily just as the chair of the body.
Terrence Brown, 9 Pine Tree Drive. I guess we'll get a follow-up on that, check into it.
Of course.
Thank you so much. Again, I think the comments again is for the last meeting, we talked about morale within the township. This time I want to talk about consistency. You know, at first there was a newsletter that we were so gratefully reading, but yet there hasn't been a newsletter, you know, produced for us in, I think maybe 2 months now, maybe 3 months. I really like that newsletter because it actually told me, you know, some of the things that were going on in the township. So, you know, maybe, you know, consistency will be a growth to keep the public aware of, you know, definitely items like this, so we don't have to continue to use social media, you know, just to inform residents on, you know, when there's cleanups and activities going around the township. So, that's my own comment. Thank you so much.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
The February newsletter was published and put up on the website. It is available for anyone to download and view.
It's available now?
Gary Brown, so for public comment, on the 17th, there was Coffee with the Cop, the 7-Eleven. I happened to attend that. I stayed the full 90 minutes. It was great. I want to say thank you to Chief and to all the officers. They were very gracious. I really enjoyed getting a chance to speak with them, and frankly, you know, I found them very candid in their answers. I was going there to ask them, you know, what it was like doing what they were doing, and what could we do as citizens to kind of help them, and kind of look over the horizon and see what other things that we haven't even thought about from where they're thinking and what they're doing. So I found that to be very illuminating. I got a chance to, well, I couldn't even put it on. Sergeant Austin's utility vest weighs 38 pounds. So they're in great shape, moving around. So that was really, you know, just something that I found to be very, very helpful. Lightly attended, I think, due to bad weather, and I know that the chief wants to do a few more of these events, so I encourage everyone here to please see if they can attend those events. It's a great opportunity to connect with our law enforcement. I met our rookie, Patrolman Washington. I tell you, I was really impressed with him. I got my eye on him, Steve. You know, he's really the new breed of police. In his heart, the way I saw him and the way he came across, he really has the heart of a guardian. And that's really the policing that we are moving to in our society. Not as a warrior, but as a guardian, someone who really wants to respect our rights and our privileges as citizens. And so I think that's terrific. He did a great job with the hires. I think everyone it has that mindset, and it's a credit to the chief and to his leadership command that's sort of inculcating that kind of demeanor in the police department. So I really enjoyed that. I went to the county commissioners meeting. That's lightly attended. I wish some of you behind me would go to those. That was the meeting on the 8th. And if you're familiar with those meetings, there was one item that I did appear on the record for. It was a resolution by Commissioner Eccles, H22. I'll just sort of read it. And it was an authorization to enter into the memorandum of understanding with the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness of the U.S. DoD, U.S. Housing and Urban Development, to partner with, quote, the Skill Bridge program in transitioning active service members to civilian careers for the Department of Public Safety. I wanted to know some context about that program, and essentially what it is the county sort of subsidizes 6 months of salary for active duty military who are going to be leaving the service, but they're going to be moving into a career. I guess they have to matriculate out of the academy and, you know, sort of get sworn in as law enforcement. That's a pipeline for talent. I would like, you know, I would like us to learn more about that program. Can we steal it? Can we scale it down? What can we do to get that talent pipeline flowing here to us? We're going to be seeing some retirements. I know the chief is working on recruitment, so, you know, anything that can assist with something like that can be very, very helpful.
That's your 3 minutes, if we could just wrap up, please.
Okay, that's all right. I got a couple more, but we'll do it the next time.
Hello, Dan McGonigal, 200 Bridge Street. The last meeting, Mr. Carr told us that he was looking into some money for open space conservation, and I'd like a status update on that, please. Thank you.
Do we have a motion to close, open?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Administrators report?
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to take some time to address some of the comments that were made during the last meeting. The first one was that there was a comment made that the budget was prepared by our township CFO. The administrator is responsible for the budget preparation in Westampton for Chapter 4, Section A, Number 3. It has been this way since 2016. And in addition to the tediousness of performing this task, I would like to thank Chief Craig Farnsworth for his assistance in the preparation and presentation of this year's budget. My second comment will be on the employee morale. When I walked into this office 3 years ago, there were some personnel changes. Some employees have reached their ability to retire and have chosen to do so. Since then, we've hired a new team of employees who work hard every day to better themselves and better the services offered to Westampton Township. Some of them have stepped up and asked for growth opportunities which previously did not exist. In order to guarantee success, we have offered education and certification programs. I have also offered various team building events. For example, the Christmas in July event offered all of our employees an opportunity to be together, whereas their various schedules would otherwise not permit. It allowed them to connect with one another on a more personal basis. Employees also have monthly potluck lunches, which allow them to engage in social interaction. The employees of the township have autonomy. I will not micromanage these employees, and I have the expectation that everyone will come to work and perform their duties as prescribed. Lastly, I would like to touch upon items for agendas. Committee meetings are the primary business meetings of the township. This is where the board, who are the committee members, meet with various township professionals and employees to discuss the items of business that are pertinent to that meeting. If there isn't a particular topic on the agenda for that meeting, it does not mean that residents or members from the audience can't make a public comment. It simply means that it is not a topic of that business for that night's meeting. Members of the community are encouraged to attend meetings and make comments on what they believe needs to be heard by these committee members. There are proper times to set aside for those types of comments. If any of the members of the community have questions or comments that they would like answered, they may absolutely contact a staff member at any time, and we will make the best arrangements possible to have those questions answered well before a meeting. Thank you.
Dates to remember. Next township committee meeting, March 7th, budget workshop at 6 p.m., regular meeting at 7 p.m. Land Development Board meeting April 5th at 7 p.m. Historic Commission, February 22nd at 7 p.m. Recreation Committee, March 8th at 7 p.m. Do we have committee liaison reports?
I don't have any reports, but I do have a comment. I wanted to thank our department heads for your budget presentations tonight. I thought that was all very thoroughly done. I know it's not always easy getting in front of the mic and doing so, but thank you for that. I also want to thank all of the residents for coming out tonight. Yes, we had to hear, something that you were opposed to, but it's good to hear your voice. We do sit here and have the same people that come, most meetings, but it is still nice to hear you, and I hope that, us tabling that ordinance will hopefully get some resolution to that where we can all be in agreement soon.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. I really appreciate your time and being here. Thanks to the department heads for preparing those budget proposals, and Wendy, you did a great job in executing last year's budget when the rest of the year coming. Points for one for the committee members, the appendix recommends that we as a body reach out to the county. So I just wanted to put on the radar that we should draft a letter to quote, ensure county policy and practice reflecting the needs of the community and place appropriate restrictions on truck traffic on county highways, and that we prepare for the future.
Thank you very much for coming out. I'm sorry.
Sorry, overthink, I apologize.
Okay.
So, we just heard our budget proposals today, and I think, I'd like to maintain our focus on our reviews of the master plan and the other areas. So, I'd like to, I look forward to having that on the budget line item that would allow us to open up other zone areas.
very much for coming in. I'm gonna share something I probably shouldn't share. I was born in 1952 in Rancocas. At that time, the only thing in Westampton was Rancocas and a bunch of farmhouses. My grandfather was a seed and fertilizer salesman. So I understand the importance of farming, I understand the importance of open space, and it's been a heartache for me to see how we have been crammed out. I remember when Dave Guerrero and I first came to these meetings, when they first started having warehouses. And one of the first things I said to the then Township Committee, no one was on here, I pointed to this sign. And I said, this is what we want Westampton to be. Not a bunch of warehouses. And this still, the gentleman who asked about painting a picture, I would paint this. Because this is what we want. The vision plan said, we want to keep our rural look of the town. Before the mayor had a motion to table this, I passed this out to all the committee members. This was what I had planned to read, and I had planned to make amends to the ordinance. So I want you to know what my amendment was going to be, because I also handed it to the planner, and I would like this to be in. Motion to amend the ordinance to the following. 1, delete section 3, chapter 250 zoning A4, which conditionally permits warehouses in the medical campus overlay. Deleted. 2, section 7, chapter 250 zoning P5, to restore the recommended 40-foot maximum height instead of the 45 and 50-foot height as proposed in the original ordinance by the Land Development Board. 3, section 702, keep the requirement that structures should be 1,000 feet from any school or residential building as recommended by the Land Development Board. Delete the ability to be reduced to a distance of 500 feet if a 10-foot sound barrier is located between the warehouse structure and the school or residential building. These 3 things are the things that got changed from when the Land Development Board approved this. What I'm also upset about was we got what you saw in the agenda, and no one told us what was changed from the original Land Development Board. I had to go through this, I had to go through this, and fortunately, I was called by a resident to tell me this. And so I still don't know what is not in here, the original, what was approved by the Land Development Board that was changed in the ordinance that we were given. So my request is that next time the planner comes to us and tells us in this ordinance what is in the ordinance that was not approved by the Land Development Board. And I think all those things that are in the new ordinance that were not approved by the Land Development Board are things that allow warehouses to be closer to neighborhoods, higher, wider, bigger, and in places that they shouldn't be. So please come out next time, make your comments again, and I hope that we can get these 3 things taken out of the ordinance. Thank you very much.
So just, my comments. One, I think it's fair. Like if it's, we continuously ask for people to come out and to hear their comments. We heard your comments, so we wanted to take a look at it and see where it is or what grounds we could do. Maybe it's the amendments that Committeewoman Berkeley brought up, or maybe it's not to do it at all, or maybe we don't know what it is. But I think that still is a conversation to what we wanted to do. At one point, we wanted to move things along to get the master plan in place so that, I'm speaking for comments that we heard, not necessarily for myself, that we want to, get the master plan in place so that the other warehouses already apply. Why is it taking so long? But at the same time, we want to be able to be fair to everyone across the board. Understanding, there probably 75 people in here today. But the same way we get pulled in every direction, there's 11,000 people in Westampton. So there's a bunch of different opinions of what we should do and what we shouldn't do. The 100 opinions, I'm sorry?
I didn't hear a different one tonight.
Not tonight, but again, I said there's 75 people here, but there's 11,000 people in the town. And I agree that some, give me one moment, please. Give me a moment. I agree that there are a group of people who would state, you know, no matter what, let's just raise our taxes as high as we have to raise them to continue to pay our police department, our fire department. We have a growing community with, 600 houses over there, and, we have to have a fire presence on the other side of town. We talked about that. Craig also talked about our fire department, that our firehouse breaking apart, we need ambulances, etc. Right? And some people don't care how high the taxes go up, but there's a bunch of people who do. So it's not like we or I'll speak for myself. It's not like I am against anyone or against what we shouldn't do or what we should do. As a resident, I've been here for 21 years. 21. I've been a part of the recreation department, coached a lot of your kids for 15 years. There's no one more invested in Westampton than me. Could be people as invested, but no one more invested. So I understand there's people who've been here a couple of years and you think that you understand, and that's perfectly fine. I wish you the best. But at the same time, for someone who's been here for quite a long time, there's 11,000 people. I was fortunate to be able to talk to a landowner today. And one of the things that the landowner said, just to give you an idea how it's a yin to a yang. The landowner said, I own the land. I pay taxes on the land. And you guys are gonna change it. I mean, this has nothing to do with virtual, trust me, but you guys are gonna change an ordinance about my land. And I understand that we have a room full of people who pay taxes, but you also have to understand that when we're sitting on this dais, which by the way is pretty close to voluntary, right? Like, you guys all know what the salary is here, right? It's not about the salary, right? When everything was closed, most things were closed yesterday, I had an interview with the Philadelphia Inquirer about something else. I had 2 or 3 different meetings. I was tied up probably till about 2 o'clock with township business. So it's not for the fact that I don't care about the town. I care about the town a whole heck of a lot. It's just the fact that you get pulled in a lot of different directions of what's best for what group or for what majority of the group or what people say. Pull people over. I've been pulled over at Wawa. By the way, I've been called on the phone. I'm open to anybody who wants to call me. Don't call me if you don't want to, that's fine. But Dave, how many times have we talked in the last 2 weeks about this whole thing? Have I ever not taken your call and not called you back? I've talked to him when I'm at work. I've talked to Bob. I've talked to Otis Carr. So some of these things that I know what's going on, especially on this committee, is because I'm talking to these people all the time. I didn't talk to Chris, I just got Chris's cell phone number, but I talked to Greg Valesi, who owns CNN. Yesterday, last night, Saturday, in the middle of the day, I reached out to him to ask him questions about this very situation. And I think that one of the other things that we want to talk about is understanding our form of government. There's 5 people up here, 3 people passing vote. There's not one person who can make any decision. Now, there's people who say, well, one group kind of sticks together, but that's not really true. Like, we talk about these things in depth, and if we don't agree, we don't agree. If we don't like it, we don't like it. And we talk about it. Now, there's things that I like that Jamie has liked, right? Is that a fact? Mm-hmm. Yes. And we talk it out. Mm-hmm. And we work it out. And that's really how it goes. That's really the in-depth conversation of how things go. And I think that, listen, you couldn't ask for a better group. When we listen to you guys asked, I was gonna say, you guys talked about the schools. Not only have I had a conversation with our superintendent, but we've also drafted a letter to him. I've also asked about our schools, which we've kind of talked about, that the school has 20 million acres, 20 million, 20 acres over there, right? That they're able to build on if they had to. If they had to. We also had, what was it, I've been here 5 years, so let's just call it 7 years, 8 years, where we had a big thing where we were gonna take over, the township was gonna take over the schools, the charter school over there that was there now, and be able to preserve that for some land. But, you know, the community didn't wanna do it, right? For the most part, if I understand, the community didn't wanna do it. Boy, could we use that school now? So, I'm sorry. Right, right.
We won that.
And there was,
Everybody, can everybody please let Mr. Mayor Anthony finish?
so, I mean, these are some of the things that came about that were a little bit different. So, I just want to give, like, my last 2 cents. Oh, also, we sent the committee, as I directed the letter, send out to the county commissioners at some time in April to come out and talk about that homeless shelter, something else you guys have talked about, right? To be able to come out, have a question and answer and discuss that. So what I would say is, it's very important, you know, one, let's be respectful of one another. We're adults. And let's make sure that even though we may not agree, or we have a bunch of different visions, and I'm not saying that my vision is yours, I'm just saying if we had different visions, that we understand that everyone has a difference of opinion. And we can all, I mean, this is a great community. One of the things that I said in that interview, they talked about Westampton Township. And I said, I would label Westampton more of a community. We wouldn't label ourselves as a township. Agree, disagree, different parties, it doesn't really matter. Like, if someone needed my help, I would help them. And I always have. I haven't disappeared. After the meeting, I'll be around. If you want to talk to me, we can talk. If not, that's fine too. So, with that being said, we have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Pagano, 1 second.
Are you trying to find out what happened to Mr. Milano?
Yeah.
He passed away. Yeah. A couple of years ago.
So how are we reaching to the parents, to their families? Do you know what to do that?
I don't know, you'd have to do some research. But I remember seeing the obituary.
Oh, I'm not been here for the longest.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, wow.
Done?
Yeah.
All right, I gotta go to the bathroom.